Hi guys, welcome back to this episode of the Corporate Dropouts.
Hello everybody, episode 2 now, and as you can see we have changed locations.
We are, for anyone listening to us and not viewing us, so if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we have also taken the decision for season 3 to film ourselves recording this podcast because obviously more people want to see our faces. So we have been testing out locations. Episode 1 was in a dining room.
Yes.
Episode 2 comes to you from Ellie's bedroom.
Yeah,
so for all you boys desperate to get in here, there you go.
The ones who haven't already been in here. No, joking.
Oh, scandal.
No one has that. Back to my love life. No, but yeah, filming a podcast is another thing we add to our list, and then just because we don't feel like our lives are busy enough, we were like, well, let's film it as well. So yeah, we're just kind of like testing what is the best area. Obviously, like, your feedback is very, very welcomed as well. We just thought that like this would be a nice area just because it's more acoustically pleasing. So yeah, let us know what you think.
But if you want to follow us on YouTube as well, we will obviously link everything below. We'll obviously be sharing these podcast episodes, but obviously probably other little snippets of our wisdom as well. So
yeah, exactly. So I guess, like, what did we even talk about last week? It was just like a babble of nonsense.
Yeah, we apologise. We were a lot more drunk than we realised, and we're both quite hungover on the
Oh my god. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is not okay for a Wednesday.
Yeah. So that was an experience, but yet we're back here with wine.
On Wednesday we were like, right, we're not going to drink next week, like, that's it. And then we're like, wine.
I was like, is it only Tuesday? My god. Anyway, that's a whole other story, but we're here, we're with wine, we're happy, we're excited, we're filming another podcast. But yeah, for anyone who didn't watch or listen to last week's, we basically gave you a little update on our lives, which obviously you may or may not want to hear. But this week we're going to get back into our, like, sharing our learnings, our advice, our wisdom, should you choose to call it that,
but still a sprinkling of like nonsense and babble,
because we can't help ourselves apparently. But this week we were chatting, I think a lot of like what we've been talking about recently, especially as we come towards the end of the year, is actually like reflecting on the goals that we set for ourselves at the beginning of the year, and also looking at what we can do for the like last couple of months of the year to really achieve what we set out to at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Reflecting on those Q1 goals.
I know, doesn't that feel like a long time ago? My god, I can't actually.
We are literally about to go into Q4, I just realised.
But, you know, we are nearly at the end of the year, basically.
Yeah, we're getting there.
I think there's like, I can't remember when I last counted, but like it was something like 140 days left of the year, which is actually
like a third.
Not that much, yeah.
Like a third of the way through. But still, we're getting towards the end.
Yeah,
that is our point,
to summarise, yeah.
So yeah, I think we're going to like touch on that, aren't we, today? But also, like, we want to talk about what the week we've had. So I think every week we're just going to talk about our week, because we've kind of gone through a few experiences this week, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
I.e. crystals.
Oh yes! Oh my god! I was just thinking.
You forgot that. You were like, "What have we done?"
I know. When was that?
That was on Tuesday.
Monday.
No, today's Tuesday. No, it wasn't yesterday.
No, it was
Friday.
Fucking hell.
What day is it?
Yeah.
So yeah, like, where do we start? Should we start with crystals?
Yeah, let's
start lighthearted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we well, it was your idea, really, wasn't it? You were like, I had to come pick you up from somewhere at lunchtime, and you were like,
the gym. My PT session.
I just got to get that in there. I've got a PT. But yeah, you were just like, should we go to the crystal shop? We were like right next to it, and I was like, okay, whatever. I've got a couple of crystals that I bought ages ago, but they just kind of like sat on the side of my shelf, didn't they?
Yeah.
Not really doing anything. I didn't really know that much about crystals.
No, I think so. It's been on my life admin to-do list for ages, and I just haven't got round to it. But I've been reading this book, Positively Wealthy. And as I keep mentioning, listening to this podcast by Francesca Amber, I feel like she's going to be like, woman, stop stalking me. Like, you talk about this so much. But it's been quite a big journey for me, because I think both of us, like we said last week, have kind of got into the idea of the law of attraction and manifesting things and etc. But I think we've really, I mean, me especially, I think, Ellie, you're probably the same. It's like really got into it in the last couple of months, and like one big thing that I hadn't really looked into properly was crystals, but obviously a lot of people in the law of attraction world talk about them. And I think Mum went for a tarot reading, didn't she, a couple of months ago? And that the woman that did that talked about her getting some crystals, especially like rose quartz for her broken heart. Sad. And then Ellie, you went for one, didn't you?
Yeah.
And she talked about all the blue crystals, which I think are related to the throat.
Chakra, yeah.
Which is interesting, isn't it? Because it corresponds with the reading you had like a year ago as well.
Exactly. It's definitely something going on with my throat. So yeah, as in like this is my pathway.
Yeah. It's like your throat chakra is like your ability to communicate, isn't it? An ability to like feel in alignment with yourself and speak your truth.
I mean, it's just like there's so much, isn't there? Because when I went into my tarot reading, for my tarot reading even, she just like laid out all the blue crystals, and she was like, these are the ones that like called to like me to you, so yeah, go and buy loads of blue crystals because they're the ones that are like for you and going to help you the most. So this was like a couple of months ago now, wasn't it? And I've always been like, yeah, we need to get the blue crystals, but yeah, so we went to the shop, and I just obviously bought all the blue ones. But it was just such a lovely experience.
It really was. And I think, like, again, people who aren't into this will think it's mental. But I always, even about religion, I always said, like, if there's something that makes people feel hope or grounded or in alignment with themselves or hopeful or, you know, with a purpose, I think whatever that is, whether you agree with it or not, it's very special. So whether that's Christianity, Buddhism, spirituality, whatever it may be, I think if you truly believe in it or if you truly find like peace within it, then that's so special. And I think both of us have really found like the law of attraction especially has just worked so well for us. Like there's wild things like my vision board, for example, and like setting out and truly believing that it could happen, and like so many things have fallen into place this year. And like I put pyrite, which is like fool's gold, in my purse, and I think that day I won a new client, which honestly I had absolutely I had even forgotten I'd pitched for it, to be honest. I didn't think it was going to come through. And like Ellie and I got a random call about a new business prospect for something that we hadn't even marketed. Like it's just wild, the things that are going on. And it just, I don't know whether it's when you've just put positive vibes out and you get it back. I don't know what it is, but I think it works.
I think it is that. I think it's like your vibrations, isn't it? You're putting out these like higher, you're vibrating like, right, I've got fool's gold in my purse, and you're thinking about it in there, and then your mindset, it's like what we touched on last week, isn't it? Law of attraction. Because I kind of had the same thing. Like I've had a few clients recently, like I've been quite worried because, again, little life update, I've obviously started my business, but I'm always freelancing on the side, but mainly for M&S still, and they're like my security blanket, aren't they? They've been there for me through thick and thin, just constantly just keep giving me work. But they've like, and actually like together we've decided like it's probably best that I stop working there now because the brand is getting pretty close to launch, and it's going to start becoming a bit of a conflict of interest. And to be honest, like I am very happy about that decision, pushing me out of my comfort zone. So I was a little bit worried about how many like clients I'm going to continue freelancing when and as I need to, just random jobs here and there, but I was a bit worried about like what clients I'm going to get and like if I'm actually going to get an income like to the same amount. But actually like now I've properly set my mind on it, and I've got like 3 jobs on the horizon, like for more than I like
would have got for M&S. I know, it's so cool.
And it is just like sitting there every day, and you just have to like visualize. It's all about visualizing, convincing yourself it's real for in this right now. It's not about like in 2 months' time I'm going to have loads of money. It's like I have loads of money now. I have abundance. And I think it's like living that best version of yourself, which I think everyone should do, whether you believe in law of attraction or not. It's like waking up every day and putting your best foot forward, isn't it? And I think especially as like a new business owner or a business owner, like that's the mindset you need to be tackling each day with. Like if you work in an office, I think a lot of people, if they're hungover or they're like just having an off day, they kind of
bring their 50%. But if you're actually growing your own business or working as a freelancer, or, you know, you're in charge of your outcome, basically, you need to be bringing your best foot forward every single day, because otherwise it's just not going to work out. And like, I think that's true whether it's law of attraction or not. Like, that's the best way. And actually that probably segues really nicely into goals, because I was thinking, like, a lot of what we talk around about goals is the habits that you need to be putting in place every day to achieve those goals. Yeah. So it kind of all fits in the same scenario in terms of like having a vision board and then what the habits every day are that you yeah. And I think that's probably one of the best books both of us read, is that Atomic Habits that did you read that?
No. But I heard a lot about it. I think that's what we do, isn't it? You read a book and then you just spew again. And you're like, at me, I'm like, okay, I've read it now. But actually, sorry, completely off tangent, but going back to your Positively Wealthy book, you gave me that one.
Oh, yes. Oh, I meant to bring it for you.
Yeah, but have you finished it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because Christina basically gave me like the chapter to read about
the
crystals.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Oh my God, I couldn't put it down. I was reading crystals, self-love. It's such a great book.
It really is.
And it's just, it's brilliant. So if you are looking, like I say to our audience, like if you are looking to get into crystals for your like wealth and abundance, obviously they're there for loads of stuff, like love, like headaches, like everything.
Yeah.
But if you would like to learn about crystals for your own like business mind and success,
like money manifestation, essentially.
That book was brilliant.
And I think actually that's a really nice starter for anyone looking to get into law of attraction anyway, because it's basically 33 challenges, so one a day for 33 days, but they're quite easy to implement. So like the first one is essentially writing down your gratitude list, which we've all heard of, and then there's the crystals, there's the full moon ceremony, which I did last week when the full moon was on Friday, and oh my God, like it was actually life affirming.
So yeah, tell me about this.
So we did it in the evening. I didn't, at the optimum moon time was like 1:36 a.m, but God, no one has time to stay up for that time. What the fuck has happened to me? I'm like, I need to be in bed by 9.
Who are you?
But so essentially the full moon ceremony, and you can like check when the next full moon is. They're normally in like the first or second week of the month, but this is a particularly strong moon because it's when the moon was the nearest to the earth that it is in its rotation every year. So anyway, it's called a supermoon. But and essentially the full moon is when you get rid of anything that's holding you back. So emotions, people, habits, bad feelings, grudges, anything that you know is like not sitting well inside you, right? Everyone knows. So, you know, do you binge drink? Do you binge eat? Do you have someone that's like making you feel out of alignment? Do you have bad habits that you talk to yourself about? Whatever that is. I mean, I had about 8 pages, so don't worry, there's not too many. But you like write them all down and then you burn them and you release it. And obviously you can have your crystals there if you want. So amethyst is a really good one for like clearing your energy. And you burn it. And honestly, there's something so sacred about burning these lists. And it just felt so incredibly like empowering.
Renewing.
It really did. Yeah. And I think there's just something really special about doing that. And again, I mean, obviously I'm about 2 years into this journey now, so probably not something that everyone who's just looking into law of attraction will want to do, but I find it really special. And then with the new moon, you write down everything you want to manifest for that month, and then, you know, you're supposed to leave the list in the moonlight under your crystals to like manifest that month. So
I love that. And like, I don't want to spend this whole
podcast
talking about crystals,
fucking mental.
The other thing that I did this week is like, because Christina is a bit ahead of me in the journey of crystals, is I obviously bought all my new blue crystals, but I've also got like rose quartz, clear quartz, loads of citrine. Citrine?
Yeah, that's citrine? Like the best one.
Yeah. Citrine. Which aren't blue, but what you need to do is like when you buy them, you have to like cleanse them in I've left them out in the sun, especially in do. You can cleanse your crystals, and then I did some like meditation next to them, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I feel so grounded.
Did you? Yeah, I love that.
I was reading loads of online as well, and it's like if you put your bare feet on the ground, like that helps ground you. And I was feeling a little bit like all over the place, like last Friday, Saturday, over the weekend. I think I just like had no plans. This is another thing we need to talk about, because I literally made no plans. I planned to have no plans, and then I didn't like that.
No,
I was, like,
you find that really over the place.
So actually doing that bit of meditation, having my feet planted on the ground, was like really really calming to my kind of like anxiety about not having anything to do.
I love that. And I think that's a big thing, especially when people are quite into this like spiritual realm. Actually, you do tend to find yourself feeling really like a bit spaced out sometimes, because your kind of head's all in the clouds and you're visualizing your future, but sometimes you do need to bring yourself back to earth, essentially. And that's what grounding is. It's like grounding yourself in the earth, and that's where the crystal's energy comes from, because they're formed in the earth, right? So but there is like talk about essentially having like grounding yourself like you did with the meditation. And I think I feel like that all the time, just completely like off with the fairies.
Yeah, that's another thing the tarot lady told me to do, is like meditate, which I've just been putting off because again I'm not very good at sitting still. But yeah, no, I just think like I'm always like, I think we're both really open to trying like whatever feels right. And I think like crystals and meditation and tarot cards are kind of feeling like really aligned to us at the moment.
Yeah, and I'd say I always try and think back to like how my journey started into these things. And I think one of the biggest things was affirmations. That's what really brings you into it. And like, they're quite like widely known. Yeah. So it's like I always had an affirmation on the back of my on my desktop background and things like that, and it just felt a natural progression as you start learning about these things. I mean, as we always say, mostly being entrepreneur is developing your mindset and developing yourself, and I think mindset is built so strongly when you are looking internally at like, you know, like dispelling your limiting beliefs, or like figuring out what's blocking your mindset, or trying to find your positive mindset. And that's essentially what the law of attraction is, right? So it's actually, I think, is a really important skill to learn as much as your craft when you're becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that was going to say, you said that quote earlier, didn't you? It's like 50% craft. And
this is a quote I made up, by the way.
A Christina Goff quote.
But I think, it's like building your...
But I think it is. Yeah. Like, that's just so known, isn't it? Like, you could be amazing at something. You could be such a brainy person about one subject. But actually, if you don't kind of have like, I was going to say like initiative,
the discipline, mindset,
a bit of like common sense almost, like the mind half, it's not going to get there.
And that stuff you can't learn anywhere. Like, you can go to uni and learn about marketing or learning about contour fashion, but you can't go to uni to learn about being an entrepreneur, I don't think.
Well, yeah.
Not like the mindset stuff.
No, you can obviously go and learn about business, but does that really teach you about like how to handle when someone pisses you off, or how to like
when things don't work out the way you envisage?
How to manage your mental health?
Yeah.
No.
And I think that's a massive thing at the moment. But I guess that kind of, so I would say from that section, the one thing I would say to anyone listening, especially if you're looking at starting your own business, is go and buy Positively Wealthy by Emma Mumford, and just get some learnings about it, look into it, see if anything sits really well with you and like improves your day with any of the challenges that she puts in the book, you know.
So I guess that kind of leads us nicely on to talking about like goals, which you started talking about at the beginning, and like it kind of reminded me, like a few months ago I was like trying to think of like what we can talk about in our next series of the podcast, because we knew we wanted to start it up again, isn't it? And I wrote on my notes like how I was feeling at the time. It's like I think I was setting my new goals, and I think I've been having a conversation with a friend or something, but we were just talking about actually like how much time we dedicate so much time to setting our new goals. How much time do we dedicate to reflecting on our old goals and actually like bathing in that achievement, success like feeling?
Yeah, I 100% agree.
And I think like if we're constantly, I know we bang on about setting new goals and it's definitely important, isn't it? But actually I think reflecting for equal amount of time is just as important, because if you're constantly setting yourself new milestones, that's where you get burnout, I think, as well. You're constantly accelerating forward, and sometimes you do just need to be like, do you know what, I've ticked everything off for this year, like I'm just gonna
that is such a good point. I think like a lot of people feel that they need to constantly be achieving, but I think it was Stephen Bartlett, he put something on his Instagram yesterday, and it was like, if you have a specific goal but then you hit it, it's like, what now? But also, it's like, actually, you can make something just your life's work. So, like health and fitness, for example, you could. So, for me, as an example, I had a goal that was weight loss for this year, which I've now hit nearly. And it's like, okay, well, what now? Like, I don't want another goal around it. And I was sort of thinking, I need a goal. Like, should I now look at bodybuilding. Or something. I was like, what's another help? Because I don't want to lose any more weight. I mean, obviously I want to tone up and I want to get strong, but I'm not going to...
Bodybuilding.
Yeah. But I'm not going to set myself goal weights. I'm not this sort of person that's like, I want to lift 500 kg by the end of... I don't care. Like, whatever. I don't give a shit about that. I think mine is like consistency now. And actually my goal is just to keep this habit and for the rest of my life. And that to me is so relaxing. It's like I fucking achieved what I set out to do and I'm just going to enjoy that now.
Yeah, and actually you can now, you've set like, what you can do is you've achieved your goal, so now you can just like reap the benefits of it. So you like the feeling of feeling like healthy and fit, so you don't have to do as intensely like a workout every day now. Just to maintain your fitness, you can just go 3 times a week, and actually you can choose all your favorite classes. You can go to yoga once a week, then you can do
and it's PT like
once
exactly
a week.
And it's like it's an actual habit now. I think a lot of things about goals is it's like actually making whatever the discipline is or whatever the goal is surrounding it, is making it a discipline in your life. So like health and fitness, for example, is such an easy one to talk about, because it's basically like if you set yourself a goal around weight loss or well-being or eating, whatever, then by the time you've achieved that goal, it will be so ingrained in your daily habits that it's then just, it doesn't need to be a goal anymore, because it is just part of who you are.
Yeah.
And that's again where goals and living as the best higher version of yourself, so living is as if you're already the person that you want to become, is so closely connected, because it's essentially like living the habits that best version of yourself would be living. So like going to the gym every day, like eating the right levels of protein, the right levels of carbs, the right levels of fiber, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's really interesting.
And it does become like a habit. Obviously, like we do touch on fitness quite a lot, because it is like a big part of both of our lives. But it does, like for me, I don't see it as like something I have to tick off every day. I've just got in my routine now.
Love
I go
it.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and like maybe at the weekend if I fancy it. But I go in the mornings because I don't have time to then like talk myself out of it.
Yeah.
I'd rather be tired at work than at work and then dread going to the
Feeling
gym
shit.
after.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just about like once you make it a habit, and I think it takes like 30 days to make a habit or something, doesn't it? Then it's kind of, it's not easy, but it's definitely a lot less like taxing on the mental brain.
I think and those sort of goals, I think the goals that are like easier to keep pushing is like financial goals. So like I think you can very easily never stop and look back at where you came from with financial goals. So like you could say to you want this to hit this in your business each month. Then once you've hit that, you obviously just add another however much money each month. And you never just stop and think, fucking hell, like I've come so far or whatever. Like you're talking about your clients. Like I guess, especially with freelancers, money sort of comes in randomly. It doesn't sort of like, it's not like my paycheck has gone up 50k this month or whatever. It's like, oh, I've got that, or I've got that piece of work, I've got that piece of work. You never just stop and be like, wow, I actually billed X amount this month, and like that's amazing,
Yeah, exactly. I think there is a huge thing about, and like what you said, Stephen Bartlett said, is like if you don't reflect on your goals, what that probably does to you, and this is definitely what Stephen Bartlett experienced, is like once you finally like
hit everything,
then because you haven't reflected and enjoyed the journey basically, you will get that totally like disappointing feeling of like, oh, is this it? And
it's also you're so desperately pursuing this version of you that's like ahead of your goals that you do forget to enjoy the journey. And I think it's like, actually the journey is the most enjoyable part. When you get to the goal, you're like, oh, okay, cool, great. I've really enjoyed the journey of getting more fitness into my lifestyle and being more healthy and whatever, and that's been enjoyable to me. It's not, and now I've reached my weight loss goal, I'm like, okay. And actually, like we talked about last week, but celebrating that on a photo shoot with all the other girls with my PT was so much fun. And it's like, if I hadn't done that, I don't think I'd have felt as joyous around it. So it's sort of like, just celebrate. Like if you set yourself a goal to read 2 books a month and you do it, like go out and have a glass of wine or whatever. I don't know. Just be like, little. Life should be all about these little mini celebrations, I think, and that's really what makes it like a fun experience. Yeah,
because I was going to ask you. So 6 months ago, if I gave you the choice to click a button and you'd be here right now, but like you wouldn't have remembered doing any of the work, basically, like the next day? Or would you have gone through this whole 6 months of like your
oh my god, that's
journey?
such a good question. 100% would have done the 6 months.
Yeah,
never would fast forward.
and we could ask the same question actually on like businesses. So obviously I'd say for you, I mean, you're still growing so much, but I'd probably say the last like year or two you've properly like nailed your business. Like you've got like an abundance, my favorite word, of like clients and like income now, and like you're really settled and you're really secure. It's all paying off. Like, would you have clicked a button for like 5-6 years ago and just to be, obviously like when you start your business, like say you 5-6 years ago, you just want to be where you are now.
Yeah.
Like I do as well. I'm like, oh, I just want to be like
that's so
really
interesting.
successful. But I don't know, like I don't know if I would. I just, the amount I've learned, and I think like the amount I've grown from going through like setting up the business and everything in life, it's like I wouldn't be
the same person, and you wouldn't do business as well if you didn't have those lessons. Like I would never change, and you will say the same even like in 3 months from now. You would never change what you're going through right now, or what you went through last year, like with, you know, all the like figuring out the manufacturing, all of that. Like you learn so many lessons from that, and like me trying out so many different business models or like different clients and working with all these people and whatever, like I would not have changed that for the world, because now I know that I've learnt my lessons and I know what I'm doing, and it will be the same is the same for you, right? It's like, you know now who you want to work with, who the best people are won't name names, but yeah, it's like you can't build a business without making mistakes, and you cannot like forego those mistakes. You would never want to give them up.
Yeah, and I think every time you make a mistake, like you just said, like you learn a huge lesson. And say like, for example, just take me for example, you know, I go and do something and it really fucks up and I lose loads of money. Well, that's never ever going to happen again.
No.
But imagine,
and you'd rather it happen now than like in future. Imagine
5 years down the road and I've invested like 5 times the amount of money I had done, and it goes wrong, and I'm like, I'd rather, I mean, so many things have gone wrong for me the last two years, but I'm thinking, I just see it as like I just know so much now. I'm gonna whatever.
And you'd much rather they happen now.
Oh my god, yeah. When like there's not too much to lose, as in there is, but and
I think like at every step, like anyone will feel like it's the biggest deal in the world when something goes wrong. Like I remember crying about clients that I hated. Like I used to cry to you. I used to just be like, I don't know what I'm doing, like this is just fucked up. I used to cry about trying to balance having a baby and then being back at my laptop on the Monday, because I just, you know, as a freelancer, you cannot lose income. You cannot have a day off.
Whatever.
Oh my god! Doing. And now I'm like, do you know what? Looking back, that has been one of the best lessons I could have ever learned. But also, I'm so glad I did it, because I know people appreciate my work ethic. I know what I need to put in to get out what I want. Like it's just all a learning curve. And I think for anyone starting out in business, whether you're 1 year in or 5 years in, like, don't be scared of these mistakes. And it's easy for us to say, but like if I made a mistake tomorrow, I'd probably still cry about it, let's be honest. But like it won't end your business. Like there's always going to be ways to recover, to recalibrate, to whatever. Like no one's going to...
Don't let it set you back.
Exactly.
As in, take it on the chin, have your cry, learn about it. Tomorrow,
move
wake
on.
up and carry on.
Yeah. And it doesn't like affect who you are as a person if you make a mistake. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're shit at your job. It doesn't mean you're a bad company.
Yeah.
It's just everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah, and also like I can talk about something that happened to me this week. I basically received like an unexpected invoice, and I think if you're a startup listening, you know, like budgets, oh my god, like budgets in the Bible, like cash flow is everything. So I received like to keep it vague, but I mean, who cares? I wrote an invoice for like maybe like 2 to 3 times what I was expecting. And it really, really, really just caught me off guard, and it really like... it just sent me, I'm such a worrier as well. This is something I'm really trying to work on, but it just sent me into a worry mode. Thank fuck I had my crystals. That's all I'm going to say, because I was like surrounding myself with crystals.
Protects me.
I was like, home. But like, I think like I had a conversation with you today, didn't I, about it? And you were like, oh, so what's happened with that? And I was like, do you know what? I've just decided to
release it,
let it go. Like, it's really not the biggest issue in the world. Like, again, I'm a startup. Unexpected costs are a thing, as is it for any business. You're going to have to swallow some costs, absorb some costs.
Yeah. But I think now, like, even the language around like how the cost was approved. I mean, I still stand by the fact you were in the right, but we talked about like you just learn from these mistakes. It's not even a mistake. You learn from these experiences. Like, you know what questions to ask now to not allow that to happen again.
Yeah.
But you also felt like actually as a benefit for you, you would just release that, knowing full well that it will come, you know?
I was just sitting there like anxiously since like whenever I received the email like 5 days ago, just thinking like, I don't know what I'm going to do, like what am I going to reply, like how am I going to like handle this? And I was like, do you know what, I'm just going to pay it, because the amount of stress it's causing me trying to like
it's like worse than the money that you're going to spend.
God, like my mental health is like, I'm happy to pay that just to like
I think that's
ease my mental health.
That is such a good point as well. It's like that comes back to the kind of age-old thing about, is a client really worth it? Like, if you've got shit clients or if you've got a shit supplier or something, even if they're the cheapest person or the client's paying you the most, like if it's sacrificing your mental health or you're anxious about it all the time or whatever, it's not worth it. And I can tell you that, having done a lot of clients.
Because you had an experience like this, didn't you? Like, I'm going to say like 3-4 years ago.
Probably only 2 years ago.
And do you know what? It always is when it's like your friend or a friend of friend, don't you feel?
Yeah.
You were working with like this friend of a friend, weren't you? And I remember you like ringing me basically every day. And I think it's when we both lived in London. You're like, oh my God, like he's done this. And I'm just
so
like,
stressful.
Christina, how much money do you get from him a month? Like, in comparison, if you dropped him, would you still be able to survive? And you're like, yeah, he's not even that much. And I was like, well, why? But it's like, it's
when you
so
start a business,
hard.
I think you don't want to lose
No.
especially if you're freelancing on the service side, you think every client is important. But like, and this is a big lesson I've learned, is like really honing in on what my niche is as a business and like focusing on that. And my God, has that done wonders over the last couple of months,
because you're
like,
so secure in your service as well. You're not going to get affected now if someone tells you you're doing a shit job, because you're like, well, I'll tell that to my other 17 clients or fucking love me, piss off.
And I mean in product business, like consumer, it's probably a bit different, but even if like someone left a bad review or someone just said it wasn't really their style, like, you're not going to get upset about that, aren't they? Exactly. It's just like, that's fine. And business, that's probably one of the biggest learnings, isn't it? It's like, you've got to separate business from you. Like, you're not your business. So if someone sort of says something about your business, says something about your service, it's not a personal attack, and just get over it, to be honest. Like, I work with other freelancers a lot who service my clients, and if I have to tell them, you haven't done a great job on this, or like, this is a client feedback, I'm like, it's not a personal, this shouldn't affect our relationship, it's just like a business feedback, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. Like that, that's another thing. There's like, it's two separate things. So yeah, like my experience this week, again, it was kind of like a loose friend, and then that obviously always makes you feel like even worse, doesn't it? Because you're like tiptoeing around each other, but like, it doesn't mean like, just because we're having this tiny dispute doesn't mean that I don't like you now as a person. It's just like our business agreement hasn't gone quite how we needed to. And I think, they always say like, never get into business with friends or family. But like, I think it is just like knowing, like, we could argue about, normally we argue about our personal lives, and then when we got our business hats on, it's like, we could be arguing like 5 minutes before this podcast. True. You would never know. But it's just like, having those two separated, isn't it? And all just setting those boundaries, and like Christina said, like being clear on expectations. Like, I think we can both learn from our experiences. But like, it's funny because we've had similar experiences as we're setting up in that sense. And it's just probably going to relate to a lot of listeners as well, who probably also, because again, as you set up, your friends are trying to help you, you're asking for favors from your friends and friends of friends, and I think that's such a good point, because this happened to me this week as well. Someone messaged me like, oh, do you do this?
I think it was social media, and I was like, yeah, I can do. And normally I'd be like, oh my God, yeah, definitely, because it comes under the umbrella of marketing. But honestly, like doing someone's personal social media is just like, no, thank you.
Hell no.
And it was like, because it was a friend who was looking for like there was loads of people looking for help. It could have been like, oh my God, yeah, cool. But I was like, honestly, like it's not my bag. And it's like, it's so satisfying being that strong in like who you are now, as in like what you offer. And obviously, because of the way formations works, I can hand them off to the other side of the business. But like for me personally, because they wanted me to, I was like, no, it's not for me. And like that felt really good, because otherwise, honestly, like we took on a client, didn't we? Like a friend who wanted social media last year. Oh my God, it was a fucking nightmare. And I just think like we both are very capable of doing it as well. Like we know we're good at it, but it's just like, if something like that is going to cause you more headache than it's worth, it's just like, no, you're right, thank you. Because you do take away the time that you could be putting towards actually growing relevant, real clients. And it's just like, just don't be too like, don't think that you have to take on business that it doesn't feel aligned to you, I think is the point there.
Yeah, and actually, again, that client also, I think we did do a pretty good job of setting our boundaries and expectations there. But I think it is like when it is like a friend of a friend or a friend, the expectations are a lot more. They think you're going to be as invested as they are, which you probably are to an extent.
But you're still running a business.
And
if they're asking for a really cheap deal, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
I feel like we've literally gone so round so many topics in that conversation. But I think this whole episode is like about mindset as a business owner, basically, and all these different points. But I think the key is like reflecting on lots of stuff, actually, not just your goals, but actually reflecting on experiences you've had and what you've taken from them. And like if you're feeling specific not shame, but like guilt or uneasiness around a situation, just write it all out and like pick out what you've learned from it and what you'll take forward, and then just forget about it, because no one else is going to be thinking about that. Like, don't worry about your reputation or what it's going to do to your business. No one will care that much. It's just like, you can't have those sort of things holding you back. So just release it, write it down, release it, and then let go of it. And it's the same with goals. Like, reflect on how far you've come, or if you've still got goals to hit, what can you start doing now that will help you achieve it by the end of the year.
Yeah, I love that. And so we need to get on our goals now for the last quarter, even though I've just said to stop making goals, but also reflect on quarter 3, 2 and 1, and plan for quarter 4.
And I think the other thing is, which a lot of people do, like at the end of the year, is look back on the goals they probably set in January and have never thought about since. And like, they think, oh my God, I need to add that back on. Like one of my big goals was to write a book, which I still want to do eventually. But like, I'm like,
I mean, that is a very, very big goal.
Yeah.
Write a book.
I was like, I set that at the beginning of the year thinking that's definitely what I want to do. And it's obviously I write it occasionally. It's mainly my journal basically. But I'm like, I don't really want to write a book right now. And it's like, I was, because I like Ellie said, like, we've kind of achieved quite a lot this year, but I was like, right, well, what can I do for the last quarter? And I was like, shall I write my book? I was like, I don't want to write a book. Like, I'm just going to have that on there for the sake of it because it was on my vision board at the beginning of the year. But actually, instead, what I did was print new pictures and like realign what I want. So my biggest focus now is building a home for my kid, not building a home, but creating a home for my kids after the fucking craziness of where we live at the moment. Like, literally tonight, putting them to bed, one of them was in a camp bed at the end of the thing. One of them was in a cot but did not want to be in the cot, so they got in another bed, and I was like, this is just chaos, man. Like, so I can't wait to basically get in a home and create a space that feels like home for us. Like, that is all I give a shit about now towards the end of the year. I don't care about my business growth. I mean, obviously, sorry, universe, I love my business to grow, but it's not my biggest focus.
You're happy with it as it is now?
Yeah, I'm just so content. And I think, and then to get a few holidays in, because I'd love to travel. Like, and you know, they're not business related, they're not finance related. I just think I want to enjoy life a bit now. So yeah, I think it's like, if you are looking back at your goals and thinking, right, well, I don't really feel aligned to that anymore, but it was on my vision board at the beginning of the year, so I must do it. It's like, no, just like change it, and like you can have a think about actually what feels aligned to you now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, yeah, we touched on it last week as well, but we both redid our vision boards. Yeah, so I guess like key takeaways from this episode is just like, if you're interested in getting into crystals, like
read the Positively Wealthy book.
don't worry about your like mental health around, you know, your ups and downs, I should say. Don't worry about your ups and downs around, you know, when you receive unexpected news. Like, just keep going forward, one step after the other. And then also just remember to reflect on your goals. So before we enter quarter 4, reflect on quarter 1, 2 and 3, see how far you've come this year. And just, even if you haven't ticked off all those goals, focus on the ones that you have nailed. And of course, like, just like self-love, appreciate what you have done. But I mean, our wine has run out now, so there's no incentive. There's no incentive to record this anymore. No, but I think we've babbled on a lot enough already, haven't we? But
we'd love to know as well. Like, I know we're changing the format for this series a bit, where it's like we're talking more, like we're having a conversation as opposed to having a really specific output for the episodes. But obviously we're always going to try and bring in our key learnings and musings from the week or from our experiences. But we would love to know if you guys have any like questions or situations that you're feeling that you want advice on, or that you'd like to reflect, or that we could discuss. Then we'd actually love to hear that as well.
Oh my God, we'd love that.
So yes, pop us a DM on Instagram. We'll put our handle
in the comments
below.
on YouTube or whatever. Yes, amazing. Well, thank you so much for watching this episode.
Nice to see you all again.
Yeah, remember, you can watch this episode on YouTube. You can listen to it on Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprout, and also
search the Corporate Dropouts.
Yeah, and also our Instagram, the Lifestyle CEO _. Remember to follow us. So yeah, see you next week, guys.
See you next week. Bye.